Welcome again to Skeptic TaraElla, where we take a stand against biased beliefs that not only defy facts and logic, but also make effective political consensus and action difficult. Subscribe if you are interested. Today, I am going to respond to yet another video that claimed that not dating trans people is somehow transphobic. I truly thought we were over and done with this topic, yet it refuses to go away. It is my view that, should this idea be allowed to continue to spread unchecked, it will only bring hostility from others to us trans people. Therefore, let's start debunking this all over again, this time in the form of a video from trans BreadTuber Gutian. Basically, Gutian asserts that if you are initially attracted to someone, then you find out they're trans, and this one fact makes you no longer willing to date that person, then you are transphobic. And when I watched it, it had a like to dislike ratio of 592 to 69, which means that sadly 90% of people who watched the video were buying this argument. Of course, it's completely unreasonable. Why? Because attraction is ultimately biological, not sociological. Transphobia is a sociological concept, not a biological one, because it is something people do socially rather than having anything to do with biology. Therefore, the concept of transphobia cannot apply to anything that is purely biological, like attraction. Explaining this more in layman's terms, people don't generally have a choice over their biological reflexes, like who they are attracted to and under what circumstances. On the other hand, transphobia is an attitude that people can choose to have or not have. Attraction is a scientific fact that generally cannot be altered by human will. But transphobia is a social, relational condition that can indeed be altered by human will. I guess this confusion ultimately stems from the postmodern and postmodern adjacent theory that is popular in some circles. In those theories, the biological and the sociological are often confused, and the sociological is sometimes mistakenly thought of as having powers over the biological, as in, for example, how gender is mistakenly viewed as a social construct that can be altered or even abolished. This is probably because the people who came up with those theories didn't have any college-level biological training, and because of the distrust of the neutrality of empirical science that is the hallmark of the work of postmodernists like Foucault. However, there is no reason to doubt the neutrality of empirical biological science or to see any sociological bias in that science. To do so would indeed be paranoid. In fact, this paranoia comes not from any scientific perspective, but rather it comes entirely from the sociological tradition of critical theory, which strongly upholds Karl Marx's idea that the dominant ideas of every era are the ideas that serve the ruling class. But to apply this idea to scientific facts is just hopelessly paranoid. The fact is, if somebody isn't attracted to trans people, then they are just not attracted to trans people, period. There's nothing they can do about it, and there's nothing more to examine. Making people feel guilty over something that is biological and hence outside their control is the worst form of cultural totalitarianism. Finally, just some extra comments in Gutian's video. She also sort of dealt with the argument around fertility unconvincingly in my opinion, and she ended up limiting her argument to hookups, which I find offensive because it could be seen as painting a picture of trans people settling for hookups if they can't have permanent relationships, and I'm morally against hookups personally. Anyway, my point is that this was what she argued, and my view is that even if I accept her conditions, the argument is still inherently wrong. That's all for today. I'll be back next time to discuss another big idea. Subscribe if you want to follow our story. And remember to resist the hive mind and stay positive. The world depends on it.